I grew up in the faith, going to church since I was a little girl. And once we got married, right around that time, 7 years ago, I started to come to this church, and I'd always bring him every once in a while. And you're not of faith, weren't. And
I'm Jewish, and wasn't very religious, but in my family, it was more the tradition, celebrating the holidays, learning the stories behind everything. I would come occasionally to church with Christine here. Prior to that, any times I had spent in church were most likely a Catholic church, if it was for some sort of, family outside of our family, somebody else having an event. I don't know if it's being Jewish, but I think most of us that are, it's like awkward when you're there. And I remember the first time I came here, it was not at all like that. I was more in tune to that as opposed to what was going on and what was being said. And that was my first experience, was being comfortable enough to actually just be here. And then over time, listening to sermons and I started to almost feel as though it was good for my soul. I would actually feel recharged leaving on a Sunday. And I started to have this sense of familiarity that this is where I was supposed to come, and somehow inside, I knew that. And it wasn't until that point that I actually realized I was always going to end up here.
What really, I think, turned everything around was, as we all know, last year when the pandemic started, we were just leaving to go visit my mother in North Carolina. And it was supposed to be 2 weeks, get the numbers down, do what we have to do. And we were like, great, we're gonna be at my mom's house on vacation with, the family, and we'll just stay all together. As the 2 weeks went by, we find out that now everything's really starting to shut down. What ended up happening was we were like, well, now this industry shutting down, this industry and all of these things. And he had said to me, well, that's not gonna happen to me. Well, his industry closed, and he had to stop working for, a couple of months. When all that happened, the first thing I had said was, we are going to rely on God. Like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to pray. I'm like, honey, you're going to see he's going to take care of us. And I think that because of what ended up happening, that he was not at work, he had some time to think and speak with God and pray to him and listen, and not have those extra distractions of the world, of work and all of that stuff. And I think that because of the pandemic and everything closing, it gave him an opportunity to talk to Pastor Tim, because Pastor Tim and Pastor Peter were having the pray with the pastors. And that gave Josh an opportunity to ask all of these questions and build a relationship and talk and learn more and be able to read the Bible and do those things. And that's how
I literally logged on and talked to him every day. Literally every day.
And it really blossomed from there. And the next thing you know, it just moved so quickly. And he's like, no, I believe, I want to be baptized. I want to do this. And it snowballed. And I was like, I couldn't believe how fast everything was moving. And you really start to see how your prayers are answered and how good the Lord is. He was able to come to the Lord and know him. And that is the best thing that I could have ever have asked for.
It changed me. The first way I would say it changed me is I always had trouble with stress and anxiety. I was just always kind of like a high stress, person. And now with this, I have like a different outlook. Not all the time. Sometimes I still have to be reined in.
I would say that his anxiety level has definitely changed a lot, and people can see that with him and just how he has, I know my mother has been able to see change with him, and even your mother too has been able to see it, just like the reaction points or the way he reacts to certain things. And so
I used to actually never see God's work in and out of my life on a daily basis. So for example, yesterday was my birthday, and our youngest, my wife says to her, do you want to go outside and play on your jungle gym? And she said no. An hour later, an oak tree from South Mountain Reservation fell, split the jungle gym in two. Normally I would have said, oh wow, we were really lucky she decided she didn't want to be on the jungle gym. As opposed to, I was given a present for my birthday. She wasn't there. And that was God.
I knew that every time I had a child, I would pray to God and say, help my girls to help my husband come to faith, and that was one prayer that I had. Like, thank you so much for, letting me have these kids, and I want to do whatever I can and teach these kids to know you and to love you and help my children. And, there would be days that Madison and I would be going to church and, Madison would ask, Daddy, are you coming to church? No, I'm busy. I have to do this. And she's like, Daddy, please come to church. And just like pulling at his heartstrings, and he'd be like, okay. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, that's exactly this is great, When I tell people to just pray and let others pray, because you just never know how it's going to happen, whether it's going to be your children helping. It could be anybody, It's, the Lord is good.
Personally, I don't see how it would have happened without Christine, and second, without the crossing. And the Alpha course we did. For those of you who haven't or are thinking about it, do that. It's great. Looking back, that definitely played a factor as well. And just the people I met, I still remember every single person that we met from that course.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where every week when we'd sign in, you'd be like happy to see them again. Definitely take advantage of everything here and every way of meeting all the people here.
Since now we come to church as a family, and we're able to stay a little bit, stay longer. I think that before, when Josh wasn't attending church, it was I had to get back home, just for whatever different reasons. And now it's both of us can talk a little bit more afterwards, and the kids are playing, and it's more of
fellowship,
fellowship and family, and getting connected more with the church. I've always felt like a family here, and that even though we weren't seeing everybody, they were still praying. The church was still praying for us. And as they did before, because, I would write in, please pray for my husband, that the Lord will open up his heart to him. And my prayers were answered. And it's not until you look back, retrospectively, do you see the hand of God working in your life. And you might not think certain things, but, he really is. He really does so much. You just have to constantly pray and, believe it in your heart. And we don't know when exactly it's going to be. And like I said, the Lord knows his timing. Just continue to pray. Whatever you do is, every day pray and tell others to pray too. And
he's listening.
He's listening. Exactly. When the time is right, he answers those prayers. I truly believe that.